watching Morning at NTV.
Yes. Good morning to you once again. Thank you so much for being with us here in Morning at NTV. It's a Wednesday. It's a Kickstarter this morning. Rising crime attacks on schools. The backbone of it is that barely a week after thugs raided Kasao SS in Kasao Town Council. This is in Mukono district, stealing cash and computers. Another school in the same area known as St. Andrews was also attacked, killing a teacher identified as Joseph Miro, 30 years of age, and injuring also a night watchman. Latifa Mixed SS, which is half a kilometer away, was also not spared, with 12 computers gone stolen before all this happened. You get to look at many other schools in different other areas. Most recent, I think, is a story that made headlines, especially across social media, of institutions like the church in Mitiana, which was also attacked and raided. You do have the priest that was cut, and so we get to have a continuous channeling of crime, you know, moving left, right and center. But if you can remember, we've just had Vijambia. Then from Vijambia you had the police raids, and now today as we speak you're looking at school raids. Where is this trend going to next? Well, we do have expert Daniel Egesa joining us. He's a security analyst, and he's going to be shedding more light on this cycle of crime that we are seeing right now, but also regarding the hot spot of crime right now being Mukono. We do have the deputy RDC in Mukono, Henry Chitambula, also joining us for this conversation. You're most welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you so much.
Good morning to you, Deputy RDC.
Yes, good morning, madam. And thank you for hosting us. Good morning, viewers. I'm happy that I'm here with my colleague. We are meeting, I think this could be the fourth time for several talk shows. So I like him, and I think we shall have a discussion that can benefit for all the viewers, especially those that want to see what we intend to do or what we are doing to curb this new attacks on schools. Okay,
Mr. Egesa, could we hear your opening remarks?
Yeah, thank you so much, NTV, for inviting me and considering me to be of use to the nation. Also, thank you because of the way you kind of take up the national issues of national concern. And I think by doing this, really, you are helping us to air whatever we believe should possibly be considered, and also to give our people confidence that the world, the country is alive. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Chitambula, in the space of 2 weeks, you've had schools, a number of schools being attacked in Mukono, and we just want to know what are the updates in regards to these attacks. What is police saying? What are the investigations revealing?
Of course, first of all, we send condolences to those people, especially our teachers and guards who lost lives during these attacks, not only in Mukono, but Wakiso, and I think is it Mpiji, where we have Nswanjire Muduma sub-county. So we really condole with the families, and we pray that the souls of the deceased rest in eternal peace. We, as the security actors and players, we have identified that there has been a gap, especially within these schools, the education institutions. I think at first they thought they don't have anything to lose. So that's why they have been actually distancing themselves away from the security police and other security agencies. When you look at one attack, I think in St. Andrew, Kagwa, where we lost Joseph Miro, the teacher who called the counselor, imagine a teacher first called the counselor, then the counselor also called police. Now in the process between communicating to the counselor, then finally to police, it took almost like 3 hours. So I don't know whether the teacher, first of all, had no number for the counselor. Definitely he had no number for the police because he would have called directly. But maybe he could not have had the number for the counselor. So trying to look for the number of the counselor took time. Then the counselor also took time to communicate to police. But when the police got the information, it took actually less than 15 minutes. So that means if they had communicated earlier, then police would have responded. Then we have also identified that there has been a gap. These people who are recruited and deployed at schools as night watchmen, most of them do not have any skills of guarding. In any case, they are supposed to be...
So they're not like directly recruited from security companies that have trained them and empowered them for any crime?
Not at all.
Okay.
Somebody can pick, maybe somebody who is desperate for life, then says, come, you can be a guard. Can you be in a position to stay out during night when somebody says
to close and open the gates?
Close and open the gates, and maybe make people register when they are entering in, and maybe moving out of the school.
And you give them a uniform.
You see? And then those uniforms are made locally by the school. So they say, I think we can develop this uniform for you. So you find somebody is a guard, but who is not actually supposed to guard because he has nothing like any skill. When you look at that very school, St. Andrew, because I want to refer to it severally, because we lost a teacher there. That school, there was Bernard Bakoli, a guard, and another guard called Bernard Ajobe. There were two, but all sharing the name Bernard. Now, Bernard Bakoli, when these thugs roughed up the other Bernard Ajobe, the guard, and then the teacher, because the teacher was tied, this Bernard Bakoli was observing everything. So he could not call the school administration to alert them that there is a problem. He could not call police. He could not call anybody. So what he did was to run away to go and hide for his life. You see, so you can see that gap. And that's why we are insisting now that we must look at these guards and train them. When you go to Latifa, you mentioned it, Latifa, they broke and stole the computers, but they also broke the school canteen. Now, the guard ran. He disappeared. But when we asked the school administration whether they knew where this guard came from, they said for sure they did not know. They just picked him somewhere and told him, you come. If you can stay out, as I said earlier, come and take over this work. So I think those gaps, we are learning from them, and we are really bridging those gaps seriously. Okay. As I speak now, we have held 2 meetings for the head teachers, both private and government, and primary and secondary. We held those schools, the meeting for Nagara.
And what was the purpose of the meetings?
The purpose was to definitely tell them what we want them to do to ensure that these attacks do not really happen again in schools. Okay,
so we'll come back to that meeting. We would like to first hear from Mr. Egesa. Let's first hear from Mr. Egesa, his analysis of the situation presently with these reports that we're hearing in media, school attacks going on and in other institutions. A case in point also is the Mpiji Seminary School, where you do have an attack that happened. There is an uprising of violence yet again, just when we thought we'd attained some calm and peace in terms of national security.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, I'll look at the wider picture. Schools have been attacked the world over. In fact, if you look at states like America, there has been so much to do with lives in schools, because people know that that's where we keep our valuables in terms of children. So meaning that it is a kind of an intersection of whereby someone can literally intimidate a nation
Yeah, because I think yesterday, but one,
Yes.
in Nashville, you do have an elementary school that was attacked and they killed students and teachers.
Exactly. People, that schools are attacked, just not because they have valuables, not because someone is a bandit, no, just because someone maybe wants to vent his anger, he wants to pass on a message. And I'm telling you, in every family, if you want to touch almost the whole nation, just touch the children, and everybody will, the bell will ring, and everybody will definitely be affected. And now, secondly, what we have to look at here is we have had, of course, school attacks in terms of fires, and we have had issues of someone setting fire on a dormitory, on a school dormitory, knowing that they are children and so many things. Of course, of late, there's been now, there was that case where fellow students took on to revenge and possibly vent their anger on a student who they claim had reported them. Okay, that aside, we have to look, the government has to start looking at schools as we call it as an industry. The school industry, what does it comprise of other than teaching our children? How do schools emerge? How do schools come up? Now, in schools we have competitions, we have rivalry. There are so many. There is a lot of intelligence underlying within the schools. You see situations where schools keep on mushrooming like the Pentecostal churches. Tomorrow, once teachers disagree, once the teacher picks capacity, he starts his own school, and definitely there is competition. Now, where there is competition, it is very likely that there will be some kind of crime and other unknown evils. So when you look at this, I'm looking at this case, of course, in isolation. We are seeing that these people, when they came in, they attacked the guard. When they attacked the guard, possibly the next person in line of security was the teacher. Possibly the teacher comes in to back up the guard, and then is molested, is taken over. So meaning that we didn't have any security to talk about. Like Aradis has said, we have people we pick from our own homes. We have people we pick from here and there. A school cannot possibly raise a dog or two. A school, there is that type of laxity. And it's not only in schools, even in our own houses. If I am to ask you to say, now, in case someone attacked, do you have anything like a lungu that possibly you can come up and create some resistance as neighbors are coming? Someone will tell you no. Now, schools are looked at as, because in schools we have many pupils or many students, people look at them as security. It is good to be around people. The presence of many people makes you feel secure. But now we are looking at a situation where thugs are going to come and possibly overrun an institution. So we are looking at so many things. Why should schools be attacked now? Schools can be attacked, but why now? Are we looking at a situation of banditry? Are we looking at a situation of, is it a political move? There are many questions which will come in as we tend to digest the intelligence of occurrences. Yes.
As we return to you, Mr. Chitambula, yes, this is not the first security threat incidences that we've had in Mukono. Previously, there's been the robbers that would come to supermarkets or small kiosks and rob people. So this tells of a recurrence in insecurity in the place of Mukono. What does that speak to the security structures that you have? If between then and now, which is a short time, you're having crime rising, then that means perhaps little has been done to change the security stance of the area.
The heart of Uganda now, actually the heart of Uganda comprises of three districts, Kampala, Wakiso and Mukono. So even when you look at the assets, the value of assets, you realize that these three districts actually have the highest value of assets. So the thugs tend to operate around those areas where they can quickly gain from. In Mukono and Wakiso and even Kampala, actually you have the biggest schools. Let me mention this. And Mukono has a problem that somebody can use the entrance from Luwero and then come through Kasao and then enter Mukono. So that entrance is also at times affecting us. So to answer your question, the thugs will always want to disorganize the heart of Uganda. However, we must assure Ugandans that we have the capacity to subdue whichever criminal gang comes up. That's why we are now saying the other issue of the robbery of the supermarkets, we can say it's now history because we have handled and we are still following up to ensure that we don't have a recurrence of the same. Now, even in these institutions, since we have identified the gaps, we are going to bridge these gaps to ensure that these attacks actually do not happen. We are not hurrying to conclude who is behind this, much as people differently can have their own interrogations, but we are waiting for a concrete investigation from police and the security actors. So once they say this is the group behind, whether it's political, whether what, then we shall come and tell the public. But for now, we are looking at these people as criminals who target schools, because our schools have now built capacity in terms of the assets. We used to have desks and books, so people could not go and steal books and desks. But these days, because of ICT, we're having computers in almost every school
within the town
so
center.
We have computers.
All right,
so,
Mr. Gesa, in regards to what he has submitted, you earlier did mention that crime is a living thing, and so for Mr. Chitambula to sit here and assure us that as far as the other former instances are concerned, it's done and dusted, that nature of crime was dealt with. But if crime is crime, you know, someone comes illegally into your property and steals and even kills, then it doesn't matter whether it's in a supermarket or a school, it's still crime and still unacceptable. What do you make of analysis in terms of Mukono as an area itself in regards to the continuous cycle of insecurity and crime growing, just wearing different clothes?
Of course, Mukono being a suburb, we expect, you know, crime develops with development. Crime is part of development.
But should we stop developing?
So, meaning that we have to live with crime. What should we do? Crime, if well fed, if given space, it will take as much space. If harassed, it will reduce. What I see in Mukono as a problem today is lack of possibly what I would say not so well designed intelligence gathering, because and of course it's a big problem in most in the bigger part of the country. How do we gather our own intelligence? We over rely on police, we over rely on the army and everybody, but we have not bothered to build structures of human intelligence. I mean, one-inch intelligence. The public is the best eyes. Of course, people have been telling the president, let's bring 1,000 cameras. Cameras are very good, but the first camera ever was made by God, and this is the eye. My eye should know who my neighbor is. My eye should know why my neighbor sleeps the whole day and wakes and only wakes up in the night, and he gets very busy and walks away. What does he do? So, what am I trying to say? When you look at what is happening in Mukono, I may even not talk about it is just simple thuggery. It does not even qualify to be a what you would say to no, that's out. Because you see, they come, the way they present themselves, what we read after they have gone is simple thuggery. Someone gathering small boys of 17 years and 15 years, gives them bangi, then he allows them to attack, he picks valuables. They are for now, what we are saying is they are looking for valuables. They are scavengers. I mean, they want to get money and go and take bangi, they want to get money and survive playing pool during day. They have to get money and possibly take waragi. Now, in a situation where you see that crime is not complex in an area but is kind of recurring, that means that the intelligence down has been minimized. And once it is minimized, we will always have these tags. And you know what happens? Criminals are very good at emulating. When you see that a succeeded massacre, it is very likely that it becomes contagious in Mukono, it becomes contagious in another place. So what are we trying to say is that, what I'm trying to say is that if we went back to what we call the Ujama intelligence, the intelligence of the person, the intelligence of the wananchi, whereby we deeply evolve them and even task them to say, you should tell us, more especially with LCs. Mr. DC, with due respect, will possibly note that several of our LCs, sometimes they are in land, Vivanja sales, and so many things.
Because
and
that's where the money is.
Yes,
I
and
mean,
besides
given
that,
how much you get to pay
because
them,
it is,
they also have to look at elements where they can get kintu kidogo, some extra
yes,
money.
Exactly.
To keep
but then they
their
sometimes do it at the expense of protecting thugs within. In fact, before you touch a thief like this, the LOC will be at the police door to say, oh, you're Balonji, this is so and so. This is Mwana Wagundi. Now, if we do not crush that kind of mentality, then crime will have very good ground to germinate and we'll always have issues.
Let's have a reaction from you, Mr. Chitamblo. He has mentioned the fact that, of course, crime goes where development is. So clearly, there's lots of development that is coming through Mukono district. He has talked about the feeding elements, intelligence gathering still being poor, and then over-reliance on security organs or the official security organs to do all the work, and yet you do have a strength but has been weakened, which is community policing, community engagement. So with those loopholes and with what you're trying to bridge as a security gap right now, where do we stand in your reaction?
By the way, I was here one day on this very TV with Brother Higenyi, and I did mention that if we are to succeed in security, then the wananchi constitute to the biggest percentage of intelligence. Because if they don't feed you, then you cannot do a lot. Somebody was telling me from Kabimbiri that after the attack, and now that people know that police is hunting the thugs, all of the thieves in Kabimbiri have disappeared. And I was asking him, you mean you know the thieves? And why didn't you bring those thieves to our attention? So for me, I was not so much concerned, but now I'm reporting that all the thieves have run away. So, and we want to investigate who are those thieves the person was talking about. So intelligence begins with you. Intelligence begins with wananchi. And of course, as he said, I agree with him that the local leaders are not doing a lot. They are not even holding meetings. They are not in charge of the areas. They are not profiling residents, not even compiling the list of the residents, because they may fail to profile, but at least compile the list of your residents. They are not doing that. So at times, the wrong people can come and settle in areas. By the time we get to know, a crime is already committed.
Has been done.
Yes, but what we are going to do, personally, I'm good at building the intelligence network and the structure. I did it in Machindi. By the time I took over Machindi, there was a lot of crime. Katwe, mentioned those areas, Wabigalo. So there was a lot of crime. But what I did, I empowered the police, especially the community liaison department. And the CROs could work with me almost on a daily basis. I could tell them, now you must ensure if the DPC cannot move, if the OC cannot move, if the OC operation cannot move, you move and talk to the people. Say that you can bring them closer to you. When you bring them closer to you, they may not take the information to the DPC, but they will bring the information to you, the friend, now. You see, and that worked. Then we formed the security. It was a task force. It was not it was not a legal entity or organization, arrangement per se, but it was something that assisted us to really work and curb insecurity.
Okay.
So all of the players, all the sectors, border, schools, churches, and what have you, could really be part of the task force at the village, at the parish, and then at the division. So we could get information to the extent that every village now had a WhatsApp group. So whatever attack or any planned attack could be posted, and the OC of the area could
Mr.
get to know
Chitambla, we're going to
very
take a
fast.
breather. We're going to pick it up from right there. How do we translate that in forming better security systems within our communities? We're going to be taking a short breather. This conversation continues. Oh, thank you so much for staying the course. We are having a conversation on the rising criminal attacks in schools. Of course, this has been alluded to, perhaps the development that we are seeing, especially in the education sector, where we're going ICT. Now, everything ought to be embedded or instructionally aided by ICT, which means that you now have computers that are being placed in different schools. And of course, one of the development hubs of Uganda is Mukono. We do have the Deputy RDC in Mukono joining us this morning, Mr. Henry Chitambla, and also we do have Mr. Daniel Egesa, security analyst, to help us make sense of these insecurity waves that we are seeing continuously. Mr. Chitambla, you were still telling us,
Yes.
we want to know what transpired in the meeting, the engagement that you had with the educational leaders in Mukono. What did you say to them? What was their response?
First of all, we held 2 meetings because Mukono district has 2 policing areas or policing divisions. We have Mukono, commonly known as CPS. Then we have Nagalama. So those are 2 policing areas. So we held the one of Nagalama policing areas at Nagalama St. Joseph. Then the one of Mukono at Bishop Senior School, Mukono. And of course, as I said earlier, we realized that there was a gap, and the irrigation institutions, the administration, the management, the directors were very far away from the security players. So I think these people used that gap, and of course the other ones I mentioned earlier, the issues to do with the guards. Now there are things that we agreed upon that the schools must do. First of all, we said they should fence off the schools. They should fence off the schools such that you can have access control, because it's not good for somebody to use any place. You know, there are schools where the community comes to play football, to fetch water from a borehole of the school.
I mean, even Makerere University has just fenced after 100 years.
So those people who come in the disguise of fetching water, in the disguise of playing football, could be providing intelligence to the wrongdoers. You see, because we have realized that those who come to attack come with the target and they know where to go. So which means that there is an intelligence that is, yes. So they should fence off. Then the lighting system should be improved. Say that you can know who is passing where, and it is the work of the guards also. Then we are going to profile, our intelligence is going to profile all the guards. We need to know where are these guards coming from, who are they, do they have any criminal records or not. So the profiling is going to be done. Then the armed local guards, so we are saying we should have armed local guards, not just these watchmen picked.
Armed and trained.
Armed and trained. Actually, I was coming to that. We should have armed local guards, but we are also going to train these local guards. We are going to train. Whether they already trained, we must train them.
So you're taking on the training mandate.
Say that they can shoot in the our system of handling these criminals. And then if there are trees around the perimeter, perimeter walls, those trees should be, if they are very near because at times somebody can use the trees to jump into. So we are saying they should be cut off. And then if you are moving money to schools like Kasau SS, where they had the 63 million stolen, then we are saying the money should be escorted.
Okay.
The money should be escorted.
Let's first interrogate those ones that you have mentioned.
Maybe let me mention this side that you can interrogate. Then we have tasked our security personnel, the police, and the sister agencies to ensure that they make surprise visits at night to these schools to find out the alertness of these guards and the security situation. Okay,
so let's start from there, Mr. Gesa. Those surprise visits, we have seen them in different communities. They come at a cost. If you want these surprise visits, the school will be indirectly required to pay.
If they ask them for money, they should tell us, because it's a security committee that has resolved that we should have this done.
But you see, these schools also trying to protect themselves. So, Mr. Gesa, you can see it's a rock and a hard place. The other thing that has come out is the untrained security guards. Someone wants a job, they're desperate, they're given a uniform, they're given duty, but they're not trained for the duty that they've been given. So that training gap there is also coming out outright, that it's not just to schools, maybe to businesses, to services. This has become a norm, that just get someone, give them a uniform, and you'll have security.
Thank you so much. I know what, of course, these are good standards of village security, whereby you put up a standard, you put up kind of structures of on how we're going to combat this and the other. But at the same time, what I would possibly want Mr. Radis to notice that in Mukono, I'm an interested party in Mukono. I have some interests there.
Are you a real estate dealer?
The tree planter.
But what is in Mukono is security is poorly facilitated, and this goes to Parliament. I'm telling you that there are 9-9s. They have sometimes interacted with the policemen, and you see that vehicles do not have fuel. Vehicles do not have fuel. Now, as much as we want a response, we're talking about visitations. Now, we are trying to make our police to become thieves by forcing them to say, do your own initiative. So meaning, pick your own money, put it in a border, carry a gun, go and attack a robber. If he kills you, sauriako. There is no way someone can be, okay, you see the good plans. This talks about very, very good plans and fair plans. But but how are they going to be enforced? What about the resources? Do we have enough resources in Mukono? You know, even me, partly I work for government, but when you interview me around that area, I will say, yes, I think we do. I know the RDC will say we are there. No, we can improvise. But I know there is no money in Mukono to sustain security at the level it should be. And in that will be a weakness. You know, that is a night pain in anybody who tries to design security products in Mukono or in any other area. Because at the end of the day, you are not going to carry your own money to fuel trucks. In case of a situation that there's been simultaneous attacks in like 3-4 places, you know, thieves keep on changing tactics. Do we have a force ready and facilitated to go and deal with the situations, possibly in 4 places at the same time? Now, that to me would be, you know, Mukono is a very wide area. It's a very, very big area, and of course very open to so many attacks. Do we have capacity? Do we have fuel? Do we have means? I'm sure we have the
basic needs to service security.
But do we have the ability and the internal capacity to kind of deal with 4 attacks? Because as you plan security, you should also bother to find your capacity, your mobility, your communication, the force, the readiness of the force. In case we attacked, and possibly Mukono is attacked in 4 places or in 4 schools, are we able? Do we have enough money for these guys to patrol? Do we have enough money for them to do this and the other? If we possibly don't say it here, our MPs will not hear. And when they don't give these people money, these people will promise us, but they will not work because they will not use their own money.
Okay, in the same regard, let's interrogate the cycle of insecurity that we've been seeing post-COVID-19, because there was some sort of security during COVID-19, aided, of course, by the terms and conditions that applied, that had restrictions on mobility as well as interaction. But now, since then, there's been the Bijambia in Greater Massacre. We have seen last year alone, there was lots of police posts being raided here and there, and now you're having attacks on schools, first through fires, now we're having direct attacks. So there is a continuous cycle that we are seeing here almost imminently. But in regards to what you had mentioned earlier, what are people angry about? What's the message that they're trying to send out?
Of course, the message may not be written by the people, but I think it is written by the situation. Unemployment, lack of possibly good planning, good planning in regards to our youths. We have one of the youngest youth force, which is redundant, which is not engaged, which the government has not come up to organize them into programs of like farming, sports, and so there is a lot of time wasted. The youth have a lot of energy, but which energy they have to feed. They have to maintain themselves, but at the same time, we do. Of course, we have a problem of maybe not having very serious programs that involve and absorb our youths. So in the process, it's very easy to be pulled into crime. And of course, for survival and even bad manners, I wouldn't say that crime should be there because of survival. But of course, big bad manners. But at the other end, also you look at someone has to survive, someone has to live, someone has to maybe has a sick child or this and the other. Crime sometimes is as a result of people not being engaged, more especially the youth. So there should be serious problems.
All right, as Mr. Chitambula, you come in to respond to that. Two things come out. First of all, when it comes to Uganda's budget, security takes up the biggest chunk of that budget in terms of allocations. Two, most recently, we saw news coming through the police force that they are reinforcing themselves, buying new tanks, more tear gas, in anticipation that whatever is happening in Kenya may cross over to Uganda. So that means there's money in terms of security and aiding the security reinforcement in communities such as that of Mukono. So then where is the gap between the presence of security servicing and what happens actually on the ground?
I think what we should avoid is to try to commercialize security, because that's where the problem will be.
When you say commercialized security, please elaborate.
That if I want to go to make an operation, I should be given something, because I've seen it. You say there is a function there, and that function is a very important one. There is somebody from government who is coming to represent government. Then you say you deploy. Somebody says, but this one is need at least 10,000. You would tell me maybe will their lunch be catered for? But at the moment you say, in order for you to deploy, then the organizers should cough maybe 10,000 per policeman. Then that one becomes a very big problem. In fact, even what you are mentioning, I think there is no transparency in the management of the fuels. I mean, the fuel given to these patrols. One day, by the way, for information, every patrol has a fuel card. Every patrol. But we know some DPCs, some also stations who go and use the fuel in their private cars. Then when there is something, they say we don't have.
You call them and someone says,
personally,
I don't have fuel.
Personally, last year, I called, I will not mention who the person I called, but I called somebody to come with a patrol. Say that I can give some fuel. I had got some little money. Some little money, just little money. 200,000. So I said, now, you put in some fuel. Say that I can also contribute for today. I went to Total petrol station, and I stood aside in my vehicle. Now, I was hurrying, so I told these boys of mine, my driver, I said, I think we should go. So the driver, for him, he remained looking at
the figure that will be punched in.
So instead of 200,000, somebody put in 10,000. 10.
So corruption is aiding insecurity.
So now I ask myself, if they can do that to me, then what about the fuel card? So I think it's important that the leadership of police looks at this. First of all, they should tell the public what they give each patrol vehicle, so that the public can know. Then number two, they should monitor that fuel. I'm telling you, Bwana Egesa, even if Parliament does not add money, at the district level, the chairperson of the LC5 are part of the security committee of the district. The sub-counties, the chairperson of LC3, the sub-county chief are part of the sub-county security committee. And in their budgets, they can always sit and say, we are making this contribution towards the security, towards our part. And they have done it, I'm telling you. They have done it. During these big days, Christmas, mention, Eid.
They do it.
You see, they always do it willingly. They even surrender their vehicles. Say, okay, well, let us add more patrols.
Okay. Mr. Egesa, in light of the fact that corruption comes up yet again, aiding what we are seeing as insecurity in different hotspots and communities, we speak of this morning, how can we stop this? How do we stop this continuous pattern?
Of course, I'll go back to wananchi intelligence, because there is so much. There is so much information on the ground, as in abuse, as in corruption, as in misuse, but this information does not come out because our people are scared. What I think the government has to do, especially like our RDC in Mukono, is to allow a situation. Here in Uganda, one of the biggest problems is whom do you tell? Whom do you tell if you get, if you kind of bump into information? If you bump into a policeman misusing, abusing fuel, if you bump into a policeman.
Actually, on that element, Mr. Chitambula, who did you tell apart from Mr. Egesa and I? Who else have you told about this incident?
Tell the RDC. Tell the chairman, and also 5 is part of the
and what have they done about that person?
Of course, I will not answer what have they done, because maybe they have not been told. They have not been told.
Okay, let's continue.
Okay, apart, incidentally, I live in Mukono, and Mr. Chitambula is fairly active, but several RDCs have one problem. They have a problem of a ring of young people, a ring of people who move around them, and many of them not even very, very refined character-wise. So before they tend to have several assistants. You say, what are you talking about? Talk to Peter, talk to Mary. Now, he kind of delegates his duty of responsibility. Yes, exactly. He has another team of SFC.
They call them
of some sort, exactly. So in the process, people even fear to come up with good information, or that information can be recklessly shared. So, so and so says they are thieves here. Now, these leaders sometimes do not know that the people the criminals are very good at marking where they are taking positions around leadership.
So, Mr. Egesa, in conclusion, what is the future of peace and stability in Uganda?
I think if we open up and create systems that can harvest information from the public in a very sane way. Yes, because there's information, but there is a lot of fear that even as people talk, they don't know who they're talking to, they don't trust who they're talking to. So meaning that the public somehow, somewhere does not trust that if you talk to a government officer about an occurrence, about a situation, you are safe.
All right. Yeah. Well, continuous cycles of insecurity in Mukono, Mr. Chitambula. What is the way forward? In conclusion,
of course, I've given part of the way forward on these attacks on the schools, but the major one is having continuous engagement with all the communities within the district, so that they can be in a position to trust us and give us information. However, on the national level, in fact, he was talking of the issue of unemployment and at times the government programs of government. But people are forgetting one thing. Some of these people begin committing crimes when they are still juveniles. You have heard of the B13, the GFAs, and mention. So some of them drop out of school. I think because of poor parenting, they run away from the parents. They go and they meet their peer, begin opium, begin discussing negative things about the country, about themselves, and eventually end up committing crime. So I think as we try to correct and safeguard Ugandans and their property, in the future we need to look at how do we really advise parents to also do their work. How do I advise the religious leaders to also do their work? How do I advise the cultural leaders to also do their work?
Okay.
And for us in security, I think all those places that are cropping up, having those who smoke marijuana, those who take those who, those places we should actually dismantle. We should dismantle them. We should handle them before. We should not wait for somebody to commit a crime.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Henry Chitambula.
But for this, we are going to manage, and I want to assure Ugandans still that, of course, we are cognizant of the fact that crime will always be there. I want to tell you that we have the capacity to handle whichever crime that will come, and we have got many.
Thank you so much. Who are committing, Mr. Daniel Egesa, thank you so much also for your analysis in terms of security, not just on Mukono, but also on the national framework. It all comes down to some things that he pointed out, and they don't apply to only schools, by the way, but also to your communities, your homes, such as fencing. It looks like a minor thing, but it goes a long way in creating some form of security. They talked about the kind of guards that you have at night. Those of you that live on apartment blocks, is the guard that you have a professional or a trained, skilled guard, or is it just someone in uniform to keep awake the entire night? Interrogate that and you'll find out how safe or unsafe you could be in the course of life. And then they also talked about cutting down trees. I think while the environmental activists may say otherwise, but in one way or another it goes a long way in helping the natural camera. Mr. Gesa talked about the eye see some of these things that happen so that they can have account of them. And community policing continues to be one of the best systems in managing peace and security on a local level and a national level. Thank you so much for having been a part of these conversations. Chris Igenyi returns with the NSSF and the terms and conditions that apply within 30 days and the repercussions thereof.